What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: End of the road. Amir King Khan dethroned by the special one, Kell, Terminator Brook. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glaze, you run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it. Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show.
Let's talk some boxing right now, okay? We're gonna talk some boxing. So, uh, as you know, the latest fight that we all saw was the Amir King Khan versus Kell Brook fight. Great fight. Basically, it was a wash by Kell Brook. You know, he basically dismantled Amir Khan. Okay, so as you all know, I mean, some people might know, Amir Khan, has been ducking this fight for years. Okay, I mean, he's been avoiding the fight for years. Anybody familiar with the context of this whole situation with Amir Khan and Kell Brook know that this is a fight that the British boxing public, has been wanting for years. However, for Khan has been, basically avoiding this fight for a lot of for years, a lot of years now. We're talking since 2010 probably. So we're talking at least a good 10 years, 10, 12 years, this fight could have been made. And, Book has been going after this fight. The British public have been wanting the fight. They've been demanding the fight. But unfortunately, as I've said, and, as we all know, Amir Khan avoided the fight for these many years. And based on what we saw on Saturday night, we know the reasons why. Okay. Kell Brook was just too much for him. He was, too strong, and even with the speed of Khan, he couldn't really help him out in this season because Kell Brook was, good in his timing. He had his 1-2 going very well. His jab was working. He was going to the body, although he should have went to the body a lot more. He probably would have stopped Khan earlier if he'd have went to the body, more judiciously. And so it was basically a one-way fight. I mean, Khan didn't. Khan looked at in there. He looked at, like he was at the end of his career. Basically, he didn't look anywhere like the old Amir Khan. He didn't look nothing like the Amir Khan that fought Maidana. He looked, finished. I think, if we look at both fighters, Khan and Brook, I mean, we'll see that in terms of the body preservation and skills and all of that, Brook is the more preserved fighter. He looks like Brook. He didn't look too bad in there at all. Okay, and you know Khan just looked totally finished. I think at this point in Khan's career, unless because something different, if he has another fight next, I mean, Khan is a big guy. Khan was the better fighter. Yeah, I think Khan has always been. I mean, not Khan. I mean, excuse me. I mean, Brook is the better fighter tonight, Saturday night. I mean, but I think that if Khan would have fought Brook, say around the time, not too long after he fought Maidana, around that time, I think it would have been a different fight. It would have been more competitive fight. Okay, and I think that because at that point, Khan looked like a fighter. Okay, I mean, uh, Khan is not a bad fighter. Okay, uh, it's just that he depended too much on his speed doing his career. He was so fast that he neglected a lot of things that he could have worked on. Like his inside fighting, body work. I mean, he was pretty good. He stopped Maidana with a body shot. If you remember that, that was that was Khan at his best, really, uh, in that Maidana fight. So if that Khan would have fought Brook, I think the results probably would have been different in the sense that the fight would have been more competitive. Okay, if Khan was younger, but this Khan there was nothing left, and it looks like Brook had a lot more left than Khan does. Okay, so the fight was basically not equal, in the sense that both fighters, Khan was wasn't in as good condition. Well, not conditioning. I'm talking the way they were preserved as fighters in the over the length of their careers. Okay, you can see that Brook is still has a lot left in him, and Brook would go on and fight, fight more fights. Brook can continue right now from where he is. He can continue and fight more fights. It looks like that to me from the eye test. Okay, he looks pretty good in there. But Khan is finished. It's done. It's cooked. Turn him over. Okay. We saw that in there. Khan is just not nowhere. He's a shell of his former self. Okay. And so my point is that if Khan would have fought Brook a lot earlier in his career when he wasn't finished, the fight would have been more competitive. Okay. Definitely would have been more competitive. And it probably could have went the distance. Okay. But the Khan that we saw on Saturday night had nothing left. Zero. Zilch. Nothing at all. He's done. Okay, so he just needs to wrap it up, I would think, from this point. I mean, he had nothing to be ashamed of. He had a great career, fought the top guys in boxing, and he represented himself very well, overall over his career. So Khan have nothing to be ashamed of. He's one of the best fighters that's been, we've seen in this generation. He's at the elite level. Okay, when it comes to fighters, over his career. So Khan had nothing to be ashamed of. He can pack it in now, and and be proud of what he's accomplished in boxing. Okay, as for Brook, Brook, I think fights left in him. I think I wouldn't mind seeing I mean, Brook got a lot of. I think Brook has a lot left in him. I think that Brook could do some fights. I mean, the S. What are you saying? SX plus. Hey, how you doing, guy? What's up, man? So anyway, Brook, I think he can fight Thurman. Okay, I think I would love to see that fight, Brook against Thurman. I would love to see Brook fight. He has other fights he can fight. Like he can fight Thurman. Like I said, he can fight a lot of these guys at welterweight. Well, maybe not welterweight, maybe 154 pounds. He can fight some of the guys up there, I would think. See what he has left. I mean, I think he has. I think Brook has something left. I don't think he's done. Okay, I think he could probably go on and win a few more fights. We hear that talk about Conor Bennett at catchweight. That's not a bad fight for him either. Okay, because I don't think Conor Bennett really is that experienced, and I think Brook has enough boxing skill and experience. I think probably to be able to to give him a fight, probably win. Okay, so but we have to see how it plays out in the long run. If because Brook is talking about the fact that he might, he's going to talk with his family. But from what I've seen of him, he got the bug again, and he's and he wants to come back. I don't think all that talk about family, talking to his family, and all of that. I think it's just talk. He's ready. He's coming back. I don't think he's gonna. Okay, SF2X plus Brook versus Danny Garcia at 150. Yeah, I would like to see that fight. That's a great fight. Yeah, Brook versus Thurman is another one. Yeah, that would be great fight to watch. I would love to see that. Those are two good fights. So Brook has a lot left in the. He could fight the upper, the echelon guys in at welterweight and at junior welterweight. Brook versus Charlo. That's another good fight. Although I don't know. I mean, Charlo is pretty rugged, and Brook is in the latter part of his career. So I don't know if he want to take on a fight like that. But I mean, if the fight was to him, I don't see why he wouldn't take it. I mean, at the end of the day, he got nothing to lose. I mean, he's lost before. He doesn't have an O. So an opportunity like that against Charlo for 3 belts, I would take it in a second. So, and I'm sure he probably would too. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see what happens. But I think there's a lot of fights left out there for Brook. You just named a couple of them, and so I think Brook should continue and try to add some more outs to his belt. You know what I'm saying? But as for him, what's his name? What's that guy from England? I can't remember his name. Hey, do you remember his name? The guy that from England that just fought Liam Williams. Eubanks. Okay, Eubanks. So a fight with Eubanks at a catchweight, that's probably something to look at. Okay, or a fight with Ben at a catchweight as well. So yeah, he has a lot of options right now. Okay, the way he looked Saturday night, even though again we have to keep in mind that he looked good against a finished Khan. Okay, so let's not get too excited. Okay, Khan was finished. Okay, so we don't know what Book would look like against somebody that's actually have some that actually is still here. That's in their prime or close to their prime. So to talk about him fighting a guy like Mayweather coming out of retirement, and now I don't know. Did anybody see Book call out? Did Book call out Crawford again after his fight? I've heard something. I hear rumors of that. I'm not sure if that's really the case, but uh, that's not a wise decision. And I don't. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I don't see anything to be gained by that. I mean, you know. Crawford would probably end up doing the same thing again. So, Book needs to stay in his lane and fight the fights that, he has opportunities to actually be victorious. Like, I would love to see him and Sean Porter fight again. They need to, settle it. Who was the better fighter? I mean, at this point, I would think Sean Porter would want to revisit that fight. I mean, that's it's a pretty good fight for Sean Porter. Come out of retirement and fight Book. You got Danny Garcia, okay. You got Thurman. Although I don't know what will be gained by Thurman and fighting Book, but bragging rights, I guess. I mean, Book doesn't have a title or anything like that, but Thurman is looking for a title. But Thurman is not shouldn't really get opportunity for a title shot because he hasn't done anything to earn it. So he needs to be fighting, guys like Book and things like that. Fights like that's how I see that. Uh, but again, back to Khan. Khan is done. I would say, and Khan needs to just wrap it up. We see why now he's been ducking Book for all these years. He pretty much know that this was going to happen, more or less. Although I think it wouldn't have happened as bad if he had fought Book when he was younger. I think he'd have put up a better fight. He was much better than, especially the Khan that fought Maidana. That was a vicious Khan. I mean, I think they fight with a body shot. Okay, imagine that Khan stopping someone with a body shot. So that's just goes to show you that at that point in his career, Khan was pretty good. He was a good fighter at that point, even though, like I said, Khan is like he's kind of like Deontay Wilder in that dependent. Deontay Wilder depending on his power, and he didn't never really train and learn certain things that he should have learned. And Khan is the same way. Okay, he so much his speed that he never really learned the fundamentals. Some of the fundamentals that he should have learned, he never really. Or not that he didn't learn them, he just never focused on it. He never made it a part of his repertoire. He never really needed with the speed that he had. So he made him kind of lazy, lackadaisical in terms of developing his skills. Same thing with Deontay Wilder. So the result is what we see. But Khan would have been a much greater fighter if his boxing acumen and skills and was equal to his speed. Which is why I respect Terence Crawford a lot because here's a guy who is very skilled, but he trains like a demon anyway. You know what I'm saying? He's trained all different aspects of his boxing. So, it is what it is. Now, there's this trend where we see Bomac training different fighters, and we haven't seen much success in any of these fights that we've seen Bomac. I've been training, these guys. I mean, uh, Ortiz took a title for one of his fighters. You know, Ortiz beat his fighter. What's the other guy? Beat his fighter as well. So that was training. I mean, so the results of Bomac training other people besides Terence Crawford is not that good. Okay, we saw that Jamel Herring. So at the end of the day, what it comes down to, and I've seen another one of his fighter, lost another fight. I forgot his name. A light skinned kid. He lost. So I mean, how good of a trainer is Bomac really? Okay, at the end of the day. I mean, I don't see his fighters. Maybe I don't know all of them, which I don't. But I mean, from the ones that I've seen, I mean, besides Terrence Crawford, there's not much to say. Okay, I mean, I don't, so I don't think the reflection on the skills of the trainer Bomac, in training Terrence Crawford. I just think it's Terrence Crawford. I think if Terrence Crawford would any other, it would make a difference what trainer he's with. Okay, I think Terrence Crawford would just be Terrence Crawford. He's just that type of a guy. Okay, and I think most of the success of his boxing is not so much by his trainer, Bomac, but it's more so him himself and what he does personally to enhance his skills. He's just a high IQ fighter. Okay, and he had the determination and all of that. That every fighter, a lot of fighters have a lot of different skills and but the discipline actually train, they might be missing that, or they might be missing something else, or, so there's always gaps in their game. So Terrence Crawford is a complete guy who, he deals in all aspects of his boxing, whether it's training, whether it's, the different techniques, the punch selection. He goes all, he covers all areas. So he's not an incomplete fighter. He doesn't lax in one area here, or he's not guy partying out, drinking and all that other stuff that some of these fighters do. That he doesn't walk around overweight like a lot of these guys do. So he's a real fighter. Okay, he lived the life of a fighter, as opposed to a lot of these fighters who don't really do that. They just they fight when they're fighters at fight night, and when they're in training camp, and then the rest of the time they whatever. They're just regular people running around. They don't live the life of a fighter. Terrence Crawford does that. We all know Mayweather did that. Even with all his money, he still was very disciplined, and that's the difference in most of these guys and their careers. It's just the discipline. Okay, some guys have it, and some guys don't. And the ones that have it have the discipline and the skill, they go a long way. And the ones that have the skill and no discipline, they go a long way too, but they only go so far. So it is what it is. But yeah, I don't really, again, I mean, from what I saw from Amir Khan, I didn't see any of the Bomac. Well, let me take that back. I'm going to take that back. Okay. I'm definitely wrong about that. There was a difference. Okay. Khan was in condition, it looks like, even though his body didn't really look that toned, and that because of his age. But I think that they got him in a good condition, for the fight. Or else he'd have been knocked out a lot sooner, because he took a lot of shots that I've never seen Khan take and stay on his feet. Okay, some of those shots he should have been down, immediately, but he stayed up. So that probably was due to the conditioning and the training he got from Bomac and his camp. So let me just walk back what I was saying about Bomac. Okay, he at least got Khan in the condition where he was able to last around with some of those shots, because I think if maybe if it wasn't for what he got from Bomac and them, he probably would have been knocked out in the first or second round. It looked like to me, because he was almost out in the first round. Okay, so that would have been the end of the fight, I would think, if he wasn't in good condition, which he seemed to have been, to be able to take so much punishment, because he took a lot of shots, solid shots, straight shots to the head, to the dome, and those shots at that landed, put other people out, or put them down, but he was still on his feet, which is kind of incredible that he never actually went down. Okay, because Khan on the canvas is like a magnet to metal. He's always going down, but he didn't go down, which is kind of impressive considering the shots that he was taking last night. I mean, Saturday night. So it is what it is. So yeah, finally the British public had the fight that they wanted. Ended. Most people thought it would end. Okay, and now Book has the bragging rights, and Khan had to eat crow, which he shouldn't have any problem. He'd been living for 10 years off of the, the idea that, he kept clowning Book for years. He kept clowning Book for years. Like he beat him with one hand behind his back and sparring and all this crap that he was talking, and clowning and jabbing at Amir Khan, and, kind of making Khan look, making Book look, desperate, what I mean? So finally, he had to go in there and show and prove, and we all saw what happened. And also when they was walking into the fight from the dressing room, from the back, the uh training room there. I saw the way Khan came out. He didn't look too confident at all. He was mumbling under his breath. He looked worried. Okay, he looked like a guy who finally had back up his talking and now he wasn't so sure if he was going to be able to back it up. He looked like a guy that wrote a check that his ass couldn't cash. Okay, so that's how he looked coming out, and the fight played out the way he looked coming out. He didn't look didn't look like he thought he was going to win. It looked like he was praying that he didn't get knocked out. Okay, and the referee saved him from getting knocked out basically because the ref stopped the fight. The referee could have let it go on a couple more, couple things. But I mean, there's no point to it. What would have been the point? I mean, the only point would have been that Khan would have been on his back, and that would have been more satisfying to Brook and some of his fans. But I mean, it wouldn't prove anything at the end of the day because we all saw that, Khan had nothing for Brook, and whether he actually ever had anything for Brook, even is also debatable. But me personally, I think that if Khan would have fought Brook during the time when he fought people like Maidana when he was at his best, I mean, ending a shot, and I mean, imagine beating Maidana, knocking him out with a body shot. Not even May can do that. I mean, but Khan was able to do it. We're talking about Maidana, one of the most rugged fighters out there. We saw what he did to Floyd in his first fight, okay, and even in the second fight, it wasn't it wasn't that bad of a defeat for Maidana. He still represented. So the fact that Khan was able to stop Maidana with a body shot, is impressive. And I think that Khan would have had an easier fight against Brook. I think that Khan would have probably went the distance with Brook. I think that Khan would have gave Brook a tough fight. Okay, but the Khan that we saw tonight was a shadow of his former self. He was nowhere close. Okay, was Danny Zodiac? Hey, what's up, Zodiac? Zodiac. Okay, Danny beats Brook. I don't know about the seat. I'd have to see it to believe it. I don't really see it because they're both, in terms of speed, I think they're probably a little bit faster than Danny. I think he have the power to hurt Danny, just as Danny have the power to hurt him. I think he's bigger than Danny in terms of frame, height, and all of that. And I think that he would beat Danny. He beat Danny. Okay, I'll put my money on Brook in that fight. But I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not. That doesn't mean that Danny has no chance against Brook. He has a lot of chance. I mean, to me, it's a 50-50 fight. Okay, 50-50 fight. But I wouldn't mind seeing it. That would be a good fight. That would be an interesting fight. Okay. Yeah, I would love to see that fight. Danny Garcia against Kell Brook. It would be a good fight, I would think. So like I said, there's a lot of good fights out there for Brook. He can fight Thurman, he can fight Garcia, he can fight some guys at 154 pounds. The guy that's out there chasing down Charlo for the rematch that Charlo knocked out Lubin. It's up there that I think Brook can fight. So I would love to see him fight some of these guys and see if he got anything left. We don't know, because again, I don't think that the fight against Amir was a good test of Brook, of where Brook is, because like we all saw, Amir was done. I mean, Amir was done. There's nothing left in Amir. He's finished. Okay, so all that training that he claimed that he did, and that was the result. We saw was the best he can do, and which wasn't much at all. Brook washed it. That was a wash. Okay, Brook dismantled him. It was not even close. Nowhere. He knocked him out. So it is what it is. We have to see for what that is. Brook is done. I mean, Khan is done, and Brook still have something left, but we don't know how much left because he displayed his, what he had left against a guy that was done. So I would love to see him fight a guy like Keith Thurman. Even Barrios, that would be a good fight. I mean, if Keith Thurman could fight Barrios, why not Brook? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's some fights out there for Brook. I like to see them. So what else is going on in boxing right now? Oh yeah, the other day I saw where I saw that interview with Crawford. Okay, we was talking about Spence. Oh, before I even get to that, now you know that at the rate that we are going now, the Crawford Spence fight is gonna take the same amount of time as the Amir Khan fight. We might not see that fight for the next 5 years or so, when both guys are old and on their way out at the rate Spence is going. But anyway, back to the interview with Crawford. And so a lot of people was out there putting out this whole thing about Crawford say that Spence wanted to fight. That was the headlines we saw after the interview from all the so-called YouTube pundits out there. Oh, Spence says Crawford says Spence really want to fight. That he want. But listen, I don't want to hear nothing. I mean, it's all good that Crawford say something like that, but again, we got to really analyze what Crawford really said. And there's a lot of things that he said that the people didn't report what he said. They just report what they wanted to push out there. Whatever their narrative was that they wanted to push. They took pieces of the interview with Crawford and then they pushed out their narrative. So the only part they pushed out was about, oh yeah, he said that Spence wanted to fight. But if you listen to what Crawford really said carefully, Spence don't want to fight, and we all know that. Okay, so I don't want to hear that Spence want to fight from some guy on YouTube. Okay, from Blue Blood Sports or from Fan Boxing, which is the only guys out there talking that foolishness, or them and BBFT or whatever his name is, and some other ones out there. They say, oh yeah, Spence. But for me to think that Spence want to fight, Spence have to come out and say it out of his own mouth. I don't want to hear it from nobody else. Okay, not even from Crawford. Okay, not even from Crawford. Okay, I don't want to hear that Spence want to fight from Crawford. I want to hear that Spence want to fight from Spence's own mouth. Okay, that's the only time I'm going to believe it. Okay, and the reason for that is simple. Crawford is a guy who's as you can see from everything that he's displayed so far, he's an honorable guy. He got honor. He's a guy who he's not a guy out there bragging and talking a lot of foolishness. He doesn't do a lot of talking. Okay, so when he does talk, he usually makes sense of what he's saying. So, but the thing about Crawford is this: he will take you at your word. It looks like. Okay, so he called Spence. He spoke with Spence, right? Now, he said that Spence said he wants to fight. Okay, when he asked Spence, he said he asked Spence about the fight. Spence, yeah, I want to fight. And then the interview said to him, well, why isn't the fight happening? What happened? What did Spence say? And then Crawford said, well, he said he wanted to fight, but for whatever reason, the fight just not happening. Does he really want to fight? So, I can tell you that I want now. If I'm, let's just make believe that I'm Spence, okay, and Crawford calls me up, and he says, "Hey, Spence, man, everybody's saying, what's up with this fight, man? We're gonna do this fight now. What do you think I'm gonna say to him? Everybody's out there saying I'm trying to duck the fight. Everybody is saying I've been ducking for years. Okay, Crawford done called me out, in the ocean, looking for me. I'd say he's looking for the big fish, and then he calls me and says to me, "Hey, Spence, man, what's going on? What's up with this fight? We're gonna do this fight or what? What do you think I'm gonna tell him? Even if I don't want, what am I gonna tell Crawford? Of course, I'm gonna tell him yes. I'm not gonna say no, I don't want to fight, and so he can go out there and tell everybody that Spence don't want to fight. Spence say he don't want to fight. Of course, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, yeah, man, I want to, and blah blah this. I'm gonna tell him whatever he want to hear. And so that's all that is. Okay, so when Crawford called up Spence and Spence say he wants to fight the Crawford, that's what Crawford. I don't believe none of that. That Spence is saying. It's not that I don't believe what Crawford is saying. I believe that Crawford is saying, he's saying that Spence said he wants to. I believe that Spence told Crawford that he wants to fight. I believe that, but I don't buy that Spence actually wants to fight, no matter what he said to Crawford, because that's just saving face as far as I'm concerned. because he's not going to tell Crawford I don't want to fight because he's going to look like a punk. Okay, and he knows the type of person that Crawford is. Okay, and he knows that if he says to Crawford, I don't want to fight, then Crawford, next time somebody asks him, Crawford's going to tell him, yeah, you don't want to fight. He told me you don't want to fight. Okay, so he's just telling Crawford what he wants to hear. Okay, so but you can see that Crawford doesn't really put much in what Spence is saying. He reported what Spence is saying when the guy asked him, and he said that Spence said he wants to fight, but he doesn't look like he actually believed what Spence is saying. Because if Spence really wanted to fight, the fight would have happened already. And so that's the bottom line. What is Zodiac? Bud, 35. I think he should retire soon. Is getting old. I mean, that's one way to look at it. Bud getting old, but I mean, how old is Bud actually getting? Does he look old? Has he been beat up? Has he been what has Bud been doing in his whole career? Has he ever been in a tough fight where he got knocked out, knocked down, beat up? No. He's never been in a fight that he got brutalized. He's never been beat up. He's never been battered. He's as fresh as you're gonna get at 35 pounds. And add to that the fact that he lives a Spartan lifestyle. He's not drinking. He's not driving. He's out there partying. He's not out there, shucking and jiving. He's a disciplined fighter who stays in condition all year round and is ready to fight at any moment. So that type of a lifestyle, okay, Bud could last 5 more years, easy, okay. As opposed to Spence, he'd been in accidents, drinking and driving, retina damage. I mean, Spence is falling apart in front of our eyes. Okay, if we listen to the stuff that we hear, about his eye, if it's actually a real injury, and we don't even know if that's even real. So there's a lot. So at the end of the day, if people are waiting for Spence, waiting for Bud to get old, they're going to be waiting a long time. I think Spence is going to get old before Bud, even though he's younger. Okay, the fact that I for example, in Spence's fight with Porter, I think that fight took a lot out of Spence. Because Spence got beat up in the fight bad. Okay, they both got beat up, but I think in that fight took a lot out of Spence. So I'm saying that Spence, in his life as a boxer, as a fighter, has been a lot rougher than Crawford in terms of the fights that he's had, because he's not been able to separate himself from the other fighters he's been fighting. Okay, except for this earlier in his career. But in the as you can see in the last part of his career, Spence has when the last time knocking one out, like 5 years ago. So that just goes to show you that it's not that in the term when you look at Crawford, he's not getting people to the right. Okay, so he's not even having he makes it look easy. So he doesn't take much punishment in any of his fights. Okay, he just goes in there, does his thing, knock them out, and go about his business. That's it. It's done. It's over with. Okay. In the meantime, Spence is there 12 rounds every fight. Okay, so who's getting the more wear and tear? Obviously, Spence. Okay, so I mean, I think Spence is going to get old before Crawford gets old. Okay, regardless of the 3-year difference and 4-year difference in age. So that's not waiting for Crawford to get old is a waste of time, I think, for Spence, if that's what he's trying to do. That's not he's going to get old before Spence does. I mean, before Crawford does. Simple as that. Okay, that's how I see that. Okay, so the idea that Bud should retire now, I think he could probably beat a lot of these guys even when he's 40 years old, like Mayweather. Okay, so I don't really, and I think he's even less punishment than Mayweather. So Crawford is, I think, still good for many more years to come. And if they're waiting for him to get old and think that's going to be it, then they're in for a rude awakening. They better, wake up and smell the coffee. But again, Spence don't want this fight with Crawford. Never did. Doesn't want it now. Never would. And he don't want it in the future because it's just like the Amir Khan and Kell Brook fight. This is why, people got to understand what's really going on. The reason why we never got the fight with Kell Brook and Amir Khan because Amir Khan, one of the fighters was afraid of the other fighter, and that was Amir Khan. He was afraid of Brook. He was afraid that he was going to lose against Brook. Okay, all this talk about fighters not being afraid and all, it's all bullshit. Okay, there's no such thing as not being afraid. Everybody's afraid at some point or other. the difference between people, two people who are afraid, is that one person who is afraid doesn't let his fear stop him from doing what needs to be done. Okay, that's called courage. Okay, so that means that even when you're in fear, you fear it. If you're in fear, you're still performing what needs to be done. You don't let the fear paralyze you. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so there's no such thing as nobody being afraid. Everybody's afraid at some point or the other. Okay, but the difference is how you handle your fear. Those who handle their fear the right way is called courageous, and those who handle their fear the wrong way is called cowards. Okay, and that's the difference. So everybody experiences fear. So the idea that these boxers are not afraid of each other is shit. Of course they're afraid of each other. Some fighters, you're more afraid of fighting one guy than another guy because you're thinking this guy has more skills. And yeah, you're not going to fight a guy who you think you might lose to. So this whole idea that, and I will admit that a lot of fighters, and this is what boxing is all about. A lot of fighters, regardless of their fear, they still go in and do what needs to be done because that's where the courage comes in. Okay, that's where courage comes in. So most boxers, and I'm going to say this, most boxers are courageous because you have to be courageous to even get in the ring in the first place. Okay, so I'm not saying boxers just running around afraid all the time. No, I'm saying that they're not exempt from feeling fear just like anybody else. The only difference is that they're a little more courageous than the average person. It takes courage to get into the ring in the first place, but that doesn't mean that you don't have any fear. That shows how courageous you are, that even despite of your fear, you will still get in there and do what needs to be done. And just to get into the ring, whether you do anything or not, is courageous. Okay, so in that sense, all fighters are courageous, but they still feel fear. So I don't buy that. I'm not buying the no fear. Boxing. Spence is not afraid of Crawford. That's nonsense. Of course, why is he not in the ring if he's not afraid? I mean, what is there? You know what I'm saying? I'll just talk about business, this, and it's all nonsense. There's no such thing. Just talk about the business side of the game, and this. Any fight can be made if the two fighters want to fight. We saw the Deontay Wilder. They made 3 fights between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, Top Rank and PBC. So all this talk about our side of the street, it's all nonsense. Okay? It's the fighters. If the fighters want to fight, the fight is going to happen. Okay? It's going to happen. And the fact that we're not seeing this fight with Crawford and Spence because Spence don't want to fight. And we all know this. So all this talking about, disrespecting Spence because we're saying he's ducking. We're not disrespecting. We're telling it like it is. The guy is ducking. And everybody knows it. Okay? So, I'm not going to sit around and play the game of, these guys don't have no fear of Spence. Nah, Spence is afraid of Crawford, and the result speak for himself. Okay, Mike Tyson said he was very scared, sick before each fight with fear. Of course he was. Who wouldn't be? You see, that's what I'm saying. So all this talk, that's the legendary Mike Tyson speaking. Zodiac. All right, the legendary Mike Tyson. So the idea that these fighters are some kind of robots or androids who go in the fight with no fear and they don't have no feelings of fear, it's so much nonsense. I don't even know where that comes from. It's foolishness. Okay, total bunk, bullshit, crap. Okay, so it is what it is. Fighters feel fear, they feel anger, they feel everything everybody else feel. But the difference between the fighter and the ordinary person is courage. Okay, a fighter will get in the ring. Just get in the ring is courageous. You don't got to do anything else. Just to get in there is courageous enough for me. Okay, I respect that. Okay, I've been in the ring before, so I know what it takes. Okay, and it's not easy. So it's no joke in there. Believe what I'm telling you. Okay, so fighters are courageous and they go in the ring, under a lot of heavy circumstances sometimes. And they go through a lot. They feel fear just like anybody else, and those are the facts. So all this talk, we need to just drop that nonsense about fighters not being afraid. There's no such thing. Everybody feels fear. It's what you do, and so it is what it is. So again. We can move to another topic. We could talk about Ugas, the Ugas, what's going to happen with Ugas and Spence. Ugas looking like he's pretty confident. Okay. Uh, he's doing a lot of talking. I mean, but again, this fight is going to be an interesting fight. You know, uh, I think that a lot of people are underestimating Ugas. I don't know if Spence. I doubt it. I think Spence probably training the hardest he would train his whole career. A lot of people underestimated Ugas against Manny Pacquiao, and we all saw what happened. Okay, now Manny Pacquiao was, kind of is up there, but he wasn't as done as Amir Khan was. He's still a lot left in him, but Ugas neutralized him. With boxing fundamentals and technique. Okay, the things that he did in there that Thurman couldn't do. Okay, so we see that Ugas is a pretty good fighter. Now he's not the best fighter in the world. Let's put it to you like that. Okay, I'm not going to say that, but Ugas is no joke. He got skills. Okay, and a lot of people underestimate the skills of Ugas. Everybody's glad for this fight. Even Spence. As soon as Ugas had gotten that belt, the hour after Ugas got the belt, he was calling Ugas out. So this is again the double standard. I mean, like, he's so quick to call out all these other fighters except for Crawford. For some reason, he just never calls out Crawford. Never mentions Crawford's name. Doesn't come out and say, he's wondering why Crawford even come to his fight. Why would he be wondering why a guy like Crawford comes to your fight? What the hell are you talking about? You're wondering why he's coming to your fight. You got them belts. He wants the belts. What the hell do you think he's coming to your fight for? To say kumbaya? He wants you in the ring. That's what he's coming to your fight for. What kind of foolish question is that? You don't know why he's coming. I wouldn't go. See, these kind of things show you how the fear that this guy had for Crawford. And, people, I don't understand why people can't see that. Okay. I mean, the guy is afraid of Crawford. Okay. Plain and simple. He's terrified. Okay. Everything that we have seen so far points to the fact that Errol Spence is terrified of Terence Crawford. Terrified. Okay. Not only is he terrified, his coach, his trainer is terrified of Terence Crawford. Derek James, terrified. Why is he terrified? Because they realize the skills that Crawford have. Okay, and now I say that, but the thing is this: that doesn't mean that Crawford is going to beat Errol Spence. Okay, because they're afraid of Errol Spence. Okay, I mean, because they're afraid of Crawford. I mean, the fact that Spence, I say that Spence is afraid of Crawford doesn't mean that Crawford is going to beat Spence. Okay. Let's get that clear, okay? So when I say that Spence is afraid of Crawford, he's ducking Crawford, or he's running away from Crawford, I'm not saying that Crawford is going to beat Spence. I'm not saying that. There's no guarantee of that, okay? There's no guarantee that Crawford is going to beat Spence. I mean, I think he would beat Spence. I think he probably will beat Spence. And if I was a fight, I would bet on Crawford against Spence, but there's no guarantee he's going to win, okay? He could lose. And why can he lose? Because Spence is not a lame. Spence got skills, okay? And Spence got a lot of skills we don't give him credit for, okay? So, but the main thing about Spence that a lot of people don't really understand is that Spence can adapt. He's very good at adjusting in terms of not in fight, but in retrospect, right? So I think that all right, for example, when he fought Brook, when he fought, there's a lot of things I was looking for when he fought Kell Brook, because I picked Kell Brook to beat him, okay? And the reason why I picked Kell Brook to beat him, because I thought that he didn't fight very well backwards, okay? I've never seen him fight really going backwards. I fight on the back foot, okay? And I thought that his footwork wouldn't be good enough to be able to avoid Brook, but I was wrong, because when the fight started and as the fight went on, we saw that. I mean, not only is he a good counterpuncher when he has to be, he can counterpunch when he has to, and he can find the back foot when he needs to. Okay, and we saw that in the Brook fight, So I was like, wow, this guy can, he can actually find the back foot. But why would he do it before? He never had to do it before. So Spence is the kind of fighter who he doesn't display everything all his repertoire in any fight. He takes the fight and he fights according to the person he's fighting. And if he can take the guy out there without doing a lot of other stuff, he just take them out of there. He just walk them down, just take it to them, and if they can't stop him, that's his route. He's just gonna go straight to you, take to you, boom, take you out. That's it. If he can, I'll just beat you, outbox you, whatever. But he's not gonna do a lot of different things he need to do, because he can fight you the way he fights you and win. So if he doesn't have to do anything else, he's not going to do anything else. Okay? And so this is what Spence is. And so there's a lot under the cover, under the hood, when you're talking about Errol Spence. Don't think because what you see above the hood outside look that shiny and he's not that flashy. But when you lift up that hood under there, there's a lot there. There's a big engine under there. Okay? Okay, it's very fundamental in a lot of different ways. I mean, his jab is the best in the business. Okay, the best, as far as I can see. That and it's not your jab. Like everybody got jab to a certain degree, but it's knowing the value of the jab. Okay, and there's two fighters I've seen who actually know the value of the jab: Mayweather, Spence. Everybody else nobody else used the jab to the effectiveness that they can use it to, except for Spence and Mayweather. Okay, they use that jab like it's supposed to be used. The jab is the most significant weapon in a fighter's arsenal. Okay, it's the most significant weapon you have. It does everything almost. It keeps the fighter away from you. It keeps distance. You can knock a fight out with a jab. I mean, there's a lot you can do with a jab, but you have to be able to use a jab. You have to know the jab, the value of the jab, and you have to use it in this right place. And a lot of fighters don't use the jab the way they're supposed to. But Spence and Mayweather, they're masters of the jab. So Errol Spence got a lot. So when I talk about Errol Spence ducking Crawford, I'm not saying that Errol Spence is going to lose to Crawford. That's not, the two are not equal, but he's definitely ducking. Okay, whether he can beat Crawford or not is debatable. However, Crawford can beat him is debatable, but there's no debate that in Crawford. Okay, this is the facts. Okay, and it's not just me saying it. A lot of people, everybody knows it. Roy Jones. I mean, everybody knows it. Eddie Hearn. Everybody that's has that inside view of boxing, that's on the inside of, not the people on the outside, like the fans and the people that's watching, I mean, some of these commentators, but the people who are in boxing, if you listen to them, they all know that Errol Spence is ducking Crawford. Okay, Roy Jones. I mean, what Jones? People say, oh, he's hating on Errol Spence. Roy Jones not hating on anybody. What does he have to hate on? There's nothing that Errol Spence has done in his career that could even equal 10% of what Roy Jones has done in boxing. If you took 10% of what Roy Jones has done in boxing, it's more than Errol Spence has done and probably ever will do in boxing at this point in his career. Okay, so there's nothing for Roy Jones to hate on Errol Spence. Errol Spence is not in his league. Okay, clear and simple, nowhere close. Okay, so you can't say that the Roy Jones is hating on Errol Spence. It's nonsense. He's just telling it like he see it, and he think that Errol Spence is ducking Crawford, and I think the same thing, and a lot of people think the same thing. It's not just it's people, but the people that know boxing know the deal. Okay, they're not fans of this fighter or that fighter. They're inside information. They know what the hell is going on, and they know that Spence is ducking Crawford. So there's no debate about that. The only debate is to the nut huggers out there, and the man fans. But even some of Spence fans, and again, all of Spence fans are not nut huggers. Okay, all of his fans are not man fans. He got real fans, just like they're real boxing fans that follow Spence and like Spence's geek and like his skills. And I'm one of them. I like his skills. I just don't like the fact that he's always ducking. Okay, just like I like Thurman's skills, but I don't like the fact that he's ducking. He's a ducker. Okay, so it's what it is. There's nothing wrong with telling it like it is. If a fighter's a ducker, he's a ducker. You can still like his skills and like his, but I know that he's a ducker, and that's Spence. I mean, I Spence's skills. I like his technique. I like his jab because he's the best. I said he's got the best jab. His jab is even better than Crawford's jab. So I'm not, criticizing Spence because I like the style of Crawford necessarily. I just don't like the fact that Spence is ducking, and I know when somebody's ducking. I'm not a fool. Okay, I know a duck when I see it. If you act like a duck, walk like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. Okay, so that's what it is. So that's all it is with that with Spence, man. He's a duck, and it is what it is. I mean, he's a great fighter. I'm not taking nothing away from his fighting skills, but he's a duck, and that's all there is to it. And who don't like it? If Spence came on my channel right now, I'd tell him, hey, Spence, man, stop ducking Crawford. When are you gonna stop ducking Crawford? That's what I would say to him. I wouldn't play around and say, oh, Spence, you're a great fighter, man, and yeah, and yeah. Nah, we're gonna, I'm gonna ask him, well, why you been ducking Crawford all these years, bro? What's up with that? You're a great fighter. You could probably beat Crawford. But why you ducking him? You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, and it's not just he ducking. I mean, he's like that's the biggest money you can make. And why not take the fight? I mean, it's crazy, but it is what it is. But yeah, he's ducking. There's no doubt about it. He can say what he want to say. Crawford can say what he want to say, but Spence is ducking. Okay, and it is what it is. So coming out and saying that Crawford is saying that Spence want to fight don't mean nothing. When I hear it from Spence, then I'll believe it. Okay, because he can Crawford, and which is what he's doing. Okay, that's saying that he want to fight. I don't believe it unless I hear it coming from his own mouth, and I haven't heard it yet. In the 4 years that Crawford has been calling him out, I haven't heard Spence come out and say, yeah, I want that fight. I'm going to take that fight with Crawford. He's always making up some excuse. When after I move up from work, when I finish on the side of the street, before I leave welterweight, kind of nonsense. Let's fight. So it is what it is, people. He's a duck. So that's all I got to say about that. Excuse me. So what else we got going on in boxing right now? Keith Thurman, he said that he wants to. I hear him talk that Now this is which gets us back to this Crawford and Spence thing. So supposedly the fight next is going to be with Keith Thurman. After the winner is going to get the winner of Ugas. He's going to get the winner of the Ugas. Which is I mean, it's a disgrace to boxing if that happens. But it looks like that's going to happen. And so, seeing that they're lining up Thurman to fight the winner of the Ugas Spence fight, so that means that Crawford probably not going to get that fight again. Okay, and so there was a lot of opposition to this whole thing when it first was mentioned by Tim Smith. About there's no money for Crawford and all of that, and all this. And when the WBA he came out and said that no, it was not it was an elimination, but Keith Thurman wasn't going to fight the winner. It was just it's all foolishness. So they basically just tell you what's going to happen, that this is what it's going to be, and this is what it's playing out to be. And so more likely, Keith Thurman is going to fight Spence over the winner of the Ugas Spence fight. So at this point, with all this. The way these guys are moving in boxing, I think we can hope for in this fight with Ugas is that Ugas win the fight and upset all their plans and machinations. Okay, because that's the only thing. If Ugas can pull off this up and beat Spence, that would be the best outcome that I can think of, because then it would shake things up and would probably get the fight with Crawford. Because Ugas looks like, and I'm saying looks like. He looks like he actually wants to fight Crawford, okay? So, as opposed to Spence, who don't want to fight. So, we're going to see the difference, okay? So, let's just say that Ugas wins this fight with Spence, and I hope he does, because I'm just, not that I got anything against Spence, I just don't like him. I'm tired of it. He's holding up the division, okay? We need to move forward. This should have been undisputed already at 147 pounds years ago, okay? This should have happened years ago. There should have been one fighter right now at 147. It should be undisputed, but Spence is holding it up. And first it was Manny Pacquiao with his and his sitting on the belt, and now they finally stripped him. They should strip Spence eventually, but I mean he's fighting now. But okay, good. So, but again, he's holding up the division. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, taking the fights he's supposed to be taking. So at the end of the day, we need to see Ugas win. Hopefully Ugas will win. Okay. And then, we can move on with the division and things can start moving again. Okay. That's what I'm hoping to win. So hopefully that happens. But at this point, like I said, hopefully that's what happens. I'm going for Ugas to win this fight. I'm hoping that he wins. I'm gonna support Ugas to do for the win, and like hope that he wins because that's what we need. We need to get rid of their old guard and get in some new blood. Get rid of Spence. He's been he's been in the welterweight division for years, and he hasn't done anything there. Okay, I mean he's had like 4 fights in 8 years. I mean it's crazy. I mean these guys are not barely fighting. You know what I'm saying? What is he doing? Okay, you know Ennis has more fight than Spence. I mean, and he's a young kid coming up. And he got more fights than Spence. So Spence ain't really doing anything at welterweight. People talk about Spence and Hall of Fame. How are you gonna get to Hall of Fame with what he's been doing? Barely fighting once a year. Okay, I don't see it. So I mean, then people always talk about Spence accomplishing. What is he accomplishing? He hasn't really done much besides beat people that Brook and Spence and Thurman done beat already. Okay, so what is he really doing? He's fighting barely once a year, once every 2 years. You got young up and coming fighters with bigger records than him because they fight more fights. They're fighting more. So I mean, what does Spence really be? What has he really done at welterweight? He hasn't had a knockout in 5 years. What is he really doing? Where's this great fighter at welterweight that people are talking about? The star. I don't see it. I just see a guy who's barely fighting. Like that featherweight guy. What's his name? That wanted to fight Crawford. I forgot. I keep his name slipping me. But Crawford, I mean, Spence is barely fighting. So he's not really doing much at welterweight. And I don't really see any Hall of Fame career at this point. What is he going to do to become a Hall of Famer? He'd have to beat Crawford. And, that's what I would think for him to become Hall of Famer. Beating Porter and Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia and Brook. I don't see that as Hall of Fame material. You got to do more than that. And he hasn't even moved up in one division. This guy's done nothing. Okay? He has done nothing, basically, when you look at it. When you compare what Crawford has done. 3-division champion, undisputed 140 pounds. One of the first person to become a 4-belt undisputed, one of seven people. I mean, there's so many records that Crawford has done that is, if you look up his records and see he has accomplished a lot of different things in boxing. We can't say the same about Errol Spence. It is what it is, and again, we want to see the fight. Again, I don't think that there's any guarantee that Crawford is going to win. I think he's going to win, but I'm not saying that he's guaranteed to win. There's no guarantee because Spence is not a slouch. Spence knows how to fight, and Spence has the skills, has the ability, and he can beat Crawford. I would think under the right circumstances, but whether those circumstances present themselves is debatable. Okay, I just don't see it happening. I see Crawford, spanking him, stopping him, just like he stopped everybody else. So that's what I think. Now, in terms of this whole, again, Kell Brook, talking about Kell Brook. Yeah, I would love to see Kell Brook fight again. I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't fight again. I mean, he looks pretty good in that Amir Khan fight. Even though Amir Khan was finished, Kell Brook was able to make the weight. He looked fantastic. Didn't look too rusty in there. He was doing his thing in there. Like I said, even though, again, it's against a guy like Khan. I think there's some, but one thing I did see about Brook that was kind of bothering was the fact that when Khan would mount an offense, Brook would duck down. He would duck down and try to, avoid it. I don't like that when he's doing that. That's what he was doing with Crawford. I mean, ducking down like that, the right person, with the right reflexes can catch you. Okay, just rush in and just jump in and just bam, throw an uppercut or something. So I don't really see that. I don't know. I don't understand what that was about. He needs to stop doing that. It's not a good look. Okay, that ducking down, and he needs to stop it. Just that Amir Khan couldn't take advantage of it because he just had nothing left. Amir Khan is finished. Okay, and so he wasn't able to take that advantage of what Brook was doing. So yeah, I think Brook got something left. I want to see him fight some other people, out there. But I don't really know how much he has left. But I would like, you can't really tell against a guy like Khan because, like I said, we just saw Khan is finished. Okay, he's done, cooked. Turn him over. He's over. It's over for Khan. He looked old in there. He looked slower than usual, and just didn't look. He looked a shadow of his former self. So, but Book looked like he had something left. So I want to see Book in some other fights. I would love to see him against a Thurman, another fight against Porter, against a Conor Ben, against a Eubanks, possibly at a catchweight. That would be an interesting fight. So there's a lot of fights out there left for Kell Brook, I would think. So I mean, even at welterweight, if he decides to stay down there, which is not advisable, I think he go to 154 pounds or fight at 154, fight at catchweight. But I mean, there's people at the welterweight that he could probably beat. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't. There's no reason for him to leave the game now, especially after how he looked. He looked in great condition. Looked like he, if he had a good guy, another guy in front of him, he could do some work. So we got to see, but we need to see it against a fighter who has a little more left than what Khan had. And so him and Thurman will be the best outcome, I would think. Him fighting Thurman will be a great fight to see where both of these guys are at. That would be a great fight, I would think. Okay, I would love to see, but we don't know if that's going to play out because we all know that Thurman is chasing the title at this point. And from what we are looking at, it looks like he's lined up to fight for Errol Spence's title. And, who knows who Spence is going to fight. Again, I think that if Spence wins this fight against Ugas, he's not going after Crawford. I'm telling people, if Errol Spence wins this fight against Ugas, I don't see him going after Crawford's belt. I just don't see it. And the reason why is something his trainer said. And I did a video on that one day about what his trainer said. I'm going to do another video about that again, a recap, basically, what happened. Because in that video, he said that they're going for the 3 belts. And he also said in that video that Errol Spence's legacy does not depend on him fighting Crawford. So once he said those 2 things, okay, to me, that just basically verify what I was thinking. Okay, he's not going after Crawford's belt. Once he get the 3rd belt, he's going to consider himself undisputed. Okay, like Teofimo did and like Kambosos is doing now. Okay, because in the olden days it was just 3 belts. It wasn't 4. The double belt came later. So, but in this era, we're dealing with the 4 belt era. So you can't be undisputed without the 4th belt. But you can claim undisputed. I mean, as Teofimo did until he got served, and now Kambosos is doing the same thing. So who knows? I mean, Errol Spence might even win the 3rd belt and then ask for a franchise belt, so you don't have to fight Crawford again. You don't have to fight Crawford for the 4th belt. Okay, so I just don't see Errol Spence going after Crawford. I think he's going to be satisfied with the 3 belts and think that, okay, this is it. And because let's be honest, what has Errol Spence done to make you think that he wants to fight Crawford next or ever? Nothing really. Okay, and he come out and said anything? No. I mean, we see people out there saying, "Oh, Errol Spence wanted to fight." We even see Crawford saying it. He's telling Crawford, not telling the fans that. Why you in secret on a phone call telling Crawford, yeah, Crawford, man, I want to fight, and then looking around to see if anybody else is hearing you. You don't want nobody else to hear what you're saying. Yeah, I want to fight, man. I want to fight. But he know he don't really want to fight. Okay, he's just telling Crawford that because he don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to be, punked by Crawford saying, ducking me, man. You don't want to fight. And, so he's just going to tell Crawford whatever here. Until Crawford comes out, and then Crawford being the guy he is, he said, yeah, well, he's told me that he wants to fight. That's what he said to me. Well, he said that to you, but do you believe him? And he didn't look like he believed what Spence said to him, because when the interviewer asked him, well, how come the fight ain't happening then? He said, well, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you what he told me. You know what I'm saying? So, this is the thing that we got to see. So, a lot of people, you didn't see that reported on the Nerdy's channel, what he actually Crawford. So you got to look at that again, look at it very closely and see what he's actually saying, okay? So, and then another part now these people reported was the part where he was talking about, I should have brought the video on here and let you see and show you exactly what I'm talking about. But there's another part where he said that they're divided, they're segregating boxing. All these channels out here, they're segregating boxing. Instead of getting together, they have his camp and my camp, and they fighting against each other instead of everybody getting together and demand the fight. And that was on point to the max. He said exactly what was going on out here. He knows exactly what's going on, and that's the same thing that's going on. These guys out here, the Blue Blood Sports, the Fannons of the world, and all those other LDBC guys out there talking all kind of nonsense, okay, about why the fight shouldn't be made, why Crawford gets 30%, okay, what he has to do this, he has to, Crawford have to jump through hoops and do backflips and with his, all kind of shenanigans to get the fight, but and this and these guys are supposed to be like they pro-black. Instead of wanting the black fighters to come together and fight each other and make money together, they don't want to see the fight. Okay, Errol Spence is not ducking. So as long as Errol Spence is ducking and you're out there saying he's not ducking, then why should you have ducking? You don't have to stop ducking because you out there saying he's not ducking. Okay, and people not demanding the fight. They're just demanding that Errol Spence, they demanded that Errol fight everybody but Crawford. Okay, so it is what it is, people. At the end of the day, so it is what it is. I don't see Spence fighting him, and I would be glad to be proven wrong. Okay, I would be so happy if they can prove me wrong, if Spence can prove me wrong that he actually wants to fight Crawford, but I don't see it happening, people. Sorry. Okay, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm going to prove wrong. I haven't so far, and I don't see, me being wrong at any point. The only way, and I'm saying it before, and I kept saying it, I'm going to kill it until we see the fight. The only way we're going to get this fight is to drag Errol Spence into the ring, kicking and screaming against his will. That's the only way we're going to have it. He's not going to do it voluntarily. He's going to have to be dragged, kicking and screaming into the ring the whole time. Okay? That's the only way the fight's going to happen, people. Okay? So it is what it is. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go on much longer. I've been over an hour now, talking about this. Congratulations to Kell Brook. Great fight. Great win. Okay. Finally, he defeated his nemesis. Hopefully, we can see the same thing with Crawford. Again, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Just because Errol Spence is ducking Crawford doesn't mean that's going to beat him if they actually fight. Okay, that's the two doesn't go hand in hand. I'm sorry. I think that Crawford will beat him. I would bet that Crawford will beat him, but that doesn't mean that Crawford's going to beat him. Again, Errol Spence does have skills. He's not a no-skill fighter. He's a very skilled fighter. Okay, it's just that I don't think he has the skills and the tools to beat Crawford, but he does have skills, and so it's not going to be, I don't see, Crawford washing him, but I think Crawford will stop him. Okay, so I think he put up a good fight, but I just think he'll get stopped. And then I also, but again, I don't see, it's not an impossibility that Spence can win Crawford. So I can see that happening easily. Okay, but maybe not that easily, but I can see it happening. Okay, I don't think it'll happen. I wouldn't bet it happening. I wouldn't put any money on him beating Crawford. Okay, I would put money on Crawford beating Spence, but I wouldn't put any money on Spence beating Crawford. But that still doesn't mean that he couldn't beat Crawford. In the end, because anything can happen when it's boxing, so we don't know. That's why we want to fight. We want to see who's better. I don't care who wins. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I just want to see the fight to see who will win. Okay, so so I'm not really invested in Spence Crawford winning or losing. I just think that Crawford is going to beat him. Okay, and he's most likely to beat him because of his skills. It's just that simple. But if Spence wins, then he wins. Okay, it is what it is. If he wins, then he deserves to win. Okay, because he did what he had to do to win. So but the only way we're going to know is if we see the fight. So the fight has to happen for us to decide who's better. And at this point, Crawford, wants to fight. Wants to fight. He's done everything, but say he'll fight for free to get this fight. He's done everything else. So it's up to Spence to make it happen. And at this point, he's in silent mode, and everybody else is coming out saying that Spence want to fight except for Spence. And to me, that's not legit. Spence got to come out and say it, and that's when I'll believe it. Until then, to me, it's just rumors. So yeah. So this is again, congratulations to Book. Congrats Matt to Amir Khan. He tried his best. He lasted in there. He took some heavy shots, but everybody know that Book was the better man. And the fight went the way that it was probably always going to go, but with a caveat. I think that if Khan would have fought earlier, he'd have had a better and probably would have done better. So it is what it is. But with that said, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for coming by, people. This is TBE Boxing saying I'm out.